Above Snakes is a Wild West inspired survival RPG where you can build your own world piece by piece. As you play throughout the game world, you will earn points towards adding more world tiles, and as you unlock new materials, you will then research new world tiles and different biomes. This then allows you to design your own survival game experience piece by piece. I had the chance to play the Above Snakes prologue, which is effectively a demo for the game. You find yourself waking up in your village, which has been bombarded by green meteorites. As you learn the mechanics, you discover that the green meteorites will affect people who die, turning them into zombies. You must find help amongst those who remain, build your shelter, forage and hunt for food, expanding your repertoire of skills. The prologue shows some of the mechanics that will be in play once the game goes live, where building your shelter is tied to your progression of skills and perks. The better your shelter, the more things you can craft and the more perks you can choose from, as well as a variety of crafting stations which will unlock over time, allowing you to craft better arms and armor to fulfill your survival. While the prologue is available to play right now, the main game is going to be available on the 26th of May 2023, where as of recording that's about 6 weeks from now. To finish off the video, I will show some of the footage that I used while playing the prologue, so that you can see the gameplay for yourself and decide whether it's something that you might be interested in when the game releases. We wake up in our own little house in the village, being called out to by the NPC that is around. You can see a corpse on the ground. And here is where we will start learning the basics of survival. And she explains the situation a little bit, but then we basically need to go and find how to make an axe, which is simply done by walking up to a tree and searching it for twigs and feathers and things like that. And this will allow us to make the very first item in the game, that being the axe. Once we have this crafted, we'll be able to see the animation of actually cutting down a tree and what it looks like. And beyond that, this will actually fall. It'll actually hit a little bush. And so you can actually cause these things to fall on things and cause a little bit of extra destruction. But it allowed me to pick up fibers without actually having to harvest the plant. We can also then make a pick, which will allow us to harvest the rocks. And the rocks can also be combined into other items like flint, which will then obviously be used for further things that you might want to build. Other than that, we can now have a look at the workbench. And so this is the item that you'll use to be able to make your shelter. And you'll see as I'm actually building the shelter here and placing foundations at the top, it'll basically say shelter 0. And as you place down items that improves the shelter bar will go up. And as you increase that shelter number, it will actually allow you higher tiers within the workbench. But at the start here, I'm basically only making quite the simple shelter. Now, part of the initial quest, you try to heal the dead guy on the ground, but as it turns out, he's a zombie, so we end up having to fight him. Now, there is a dodge mechanic here in the game where you can basically roll out of the way of things. I did use it here because it said that it was an option to do, but I didn't use it very often. Most of the times I just tanked the hits, because most zombies died in 3 hits with the axe, and it was no much more of a problem than that. Other times, basically, the zombies are so slow, you can see their attacks coming, and all's well and good. Now, I've earned points enough here that I can actually place a world tile. I only have the one tile, which is the prairie, and so that's pretty much just placed as is. But as you search for things within the game world, you'll earn points to be able to add more tiles to the game. I'm going to get some of the berries here, so we actually start getting our first food source within the game. We see here that I'm actually placing the cartographer table, and this is where we research different tiles. And so you'll have to find different resources to learn them, in this case rocks, and this will add a transition piece where I can go from plains to forests, which would then allow me to place a full forest tile further beyond that. Here. So basically it won't allow me to place the forest against the prairie. You actually have to place prairie against the correct edge, and then I could obviously put a pine forest on that particular edge beyond. Now, having a look at the cooking, light the fire, and here there's actually quite a nice little cooking system. I haven't really explored it extensively. I do know that 3 huckleberries actually make a little bit of an item. And once you've learnt the recipes and you make a recipe book, you can basically have all of these logged and you can continue to make them as you need to. One of the nice things about this is that there is a number of different things going on. You have a food, water, sanity and sleep bar. And depending on the foods that you cook will either increase or decrease those resources as you go along. The other parts of the game is that you will encounter NPCs at various times. They will give you quests, and then you'll basically either choose to accept or deny those requests. Being the prologue, obviously you're going to accept. And in this case, they were asking if you can go and find their provisions for you. To collect the provisions, we need a special mission tile, and it needs a transition from plains to prairie so that I can place a full prairie tile down. Now this new tile has a few new resources that I hadn't seen before, so hemp, cotton, some food things like mint and vanilla, so a whole bunch of new items basically became available as a result of adding in a new biome. There's a few zombies here that I end up having to fight before I pick up the provisions. And you can see here that the zombie attack was quite slow, but at the same time you can just take the hit as the zombie is dead within 3 hits. And I think with this next zombie I actually successfully dodged it quite a lot better. But as you loot, it might be a bit hard to see there, but I lost 20 sanity when I did the looting. And as we talked about with the foods, obviously if you have good foods, and I think it was the mushroom food, added really good sanity. So you can mix up a food of 3 mushrooms, I think they're the boletes, and that gave me, I think it may have even been gave 10 sanity back by having that food. So different types of food will go a long way in the game to actually making sure that you can do what you need to do, as some of the resources are actually only gathered via the zombies, and so as a result you're going to have to take that sanity hit just to be able to get them. And here we can see that I used a key. I actually picked up that key from a crate here in this village with the NPCs, and that allowed me to open that box back there. And we're finishing off the quest now. It looks like I forgot to grab something, so I just grabbed it. It ended up just being rocks. And we have the final NPC talking about thanking you for the provisions, and this will pretty much bring us to the end of the prologue. Now, as it turns out, he does actually send me on another quest. They're asking for cloth and cotton, but because I'd already picked up all of that stuff in the biome before, I didn't actually have to run off and go and grab it because I already had it. And as a result, he gives you a miracle tonic, and that brings you to the end of the prologue. So yes, let me know what you think down in the comments, what you think of the game, whether it's something up your alley or whether it's not. Maybe recommend a game that I might want to have a look into next. I've been looking at a lot of these little indie games, and I'm certainly looking forward to more in the future. Alright, thanks for listening in, and I'll catch you in the next one.